and welcome to the Committee on Arts, Parks, Health, Aging, and the LA River. I just want to let everyone know that our colleague Gil Cedillo had an urgent family matter he had to take care of, and that's why he won't be joining us today. And I would like to welcome Council members Tom LaBonge, Curran Price, and Joe Buscaino on the committee. And we're going to do some rearranging of the agenda. Oh, thank you. And I just wanted to let folks know that we're going to have a couple of consent items in with items. Let's see. We're going to go with 1, 3, and then 5. So bear with us on moving things around a little bit. And with that said, I call this meeting to order. And I would like to suggest to my colleagues that we move items 7 and 8 on consent.
So move.
All right, thank you. And with that, we'll go ahead and, did I get that right, David? Are we going to go with 1 or are we going to go with 3 and 5?
All righty, start with 1 then.
On 8 forthwith for the Old American Act.
Okay.
We're going to start with 3, then 1 and 5.
Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and start with 3 from the Planning Department on the River Improvement Overlay Zone. And we have Claire Bowen stepping up to the microphone. Thank you, Claire.
This is continued from February 27, 2012, Department of Planning report and proposed ordinance relative to the establishment of the Los Angeles River Improvement Overlay and Los Angeles River Design Guidelines. This matter has also been referred to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. I'm Claire Bowen with the City Planning Department, and just wanted to give you a brief update as to where we are with the River Improvement Overlay District. As you may or may not know, we started working on a River Improvement Overlay District a number of years ago when we were developing the Los Angeles River Revitalization Master Plan. The RIO, as we're calling it, was developed, and we took it to the Planning Commission back at the end of 2011, and then on to a joint committee meeting of Plum and at the time the Ad Hoc River Committee back in the beginning of 2012. Since that time, it has been with the City Attorney's Office for review of form and legality. We believe from the conversations and correspondence we've had with the City Attorney's Office over the last couple of months that we're very close to seeing that ordinance. So hopefully as soon as it can get out of their offices, we'll be bringing it back to, I assume, a joint committee of this committee as well as Plum. The intent of the RIO is to develop design standards for properties within the boundaries of this new River Improvement Overlay District, and create then the first RIO district. So the idea would be to create a first one along the Los Angeles River. The boundaries largely imitate the boundaries established during the Los Angeles River Revitalization Master Plan. The benefit of the RIO will be that other streams or channels that want to also have a RIO district established for them could do so through subsequent efforts, but this RIO supplementing district allows you to do that quite easily in other places. I'm happy to answer any questions. That it really is design standards. It doesn't affect the zoning. It doesn't affect the parking. So people can still do what they are allowed to do today. It's really about improving, connections down to the river, facilitating the area around the river having, an aesthetically pleasing component, limiting or screening out like parking and mechanical systems if you're walking around the river.
All right.
Just one point. A lot of people who live along the river or live there a long time, and they're sometimes afraid of change or government. Mm-hmm. And then also there's some unique designs, whether they're street designs, cul-de-sacs without turnarounds, or whatever, and they're not of the same means as some other people in the city. How tough are you going to be on requiring this, and how much option could the planning officer be given to say, okay, this is, we're not going to try to win and get an A+ on this due to circumstances. I think there's some compassion that you got to have, because one thing that people in Elysian Valley and Atwater Village have told me over the years is they like where they live, but they don't want someone come and telling them what they got to do. So there's just some sensitivity there, and I say that with all respect to everybody, both you as professional planners, but also as those people who live in this corridor who I've had a relationship with over the years, and I just wanted to state that because they may feel these standards may be overwhelming or too bourgeois.
Well, I appreciate your concern, and I think one of the things I can say to alleviate those concerns is the design standards are very limited with a lot of the concerns you had in mind. They would only be imposed on projects that are new projects. So if your existing property happens to abut the river, there's no changes that are being required of you. But if you suddenly wanted to redevelop your project and do some major renovation or start over anew, then these standards would be in place. But they are really design standards. So it talks about if you're doing a fence, this is the kind of design we'd want to see. So you start to create a consistent design.
And then also there's a lot of small industry up there. How do you deal with that?
So they would be subject to the same standards. So the standards were written understanding that there are many different types of uses along the river, from single family to multifamily to industrial. So the standards are such that they are applicable to all the different uses.
Can they appeal?
No.
Oh, they can't appeal? Why not?
These are standards.
I know, but what if I'm just saying, I want you to score, I want you to win, Claire. But I also love people, and people, things do change, but they feel a great pressure sometimes that someone's coming in and changing their neighborhood or taking it, and
Well, you could come in and ask for some discretionary action, some relief from them. You just can't appeal them, but you could come in and say, you could then come, because these are by right. These are subject for anybody, whether you're a by right or your discretionary project.
All right.
But if you wanted some relief from them, you could then come and ask for that through a discretionary process.
Does it say that in writing, and if you want to
Yes.
discuss it, okay, I want to make sure.
It's been a while since we did that language.
Mr. Chair, thank you.
All right, colleagues, any questions or comments?
None here.
And so what I would recommend, Claire, is it's going back to the Planning Land Use Management Committee, and maybe come back to this committee with a report on the zoning, the existing zoning and any proposed zoning changes. That might, I think, help clarify some of the questions that my colleague just raised.
Okay.
So, for process purposes, then we'd be continuing the matter pending a report back from them? Because
Yes.
we can't just send it forward without some kind of an action.
Okay, that's exactly what I'd like to do.
Do you want,
Thank you.
when we go to Plum, do you want it to be a joint committee meeting with your committee?
I hadn't thought of that.
Okay, that's how it was originally done. It was Plum with Ad Hoc River.
Well, this
when we took action.
is for lack of a better term, it's sat on ice for a while now, right?
It has sat on ice,
And
so it might be worth.
I think it might be worth it
present.
as well, especially since we have so many new members of the Los Angeles City Council.
Absolutely. I think I would love the idea to do a joint committee. It could really come in with our maps and really do a little bit more of a presentation on what are the design standards. We can do it in a very brief amount of time, but then that way also it's an opportunity for you guys to act on it.
Support that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so moved. We'll recommend a joint committee on this. Terrific.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, having said that, we're going to move to item 1 on the agenda.
Item 1 is a discussion item. Representatives from the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, Friends of Los Angeles River, Los Angeles County, and Army Corps Engineers to discuss upcoming Army Corps Engineers study in connection with the Los Angeles River.
And at this time, I believe we're going to have representatives from Friends of the Los Angeles River, FOLAR. I think Los Angeles County, I understand, was not able to make it, but I believe we have Colonel Kimberly Colleton. I think I would love to recognize and introduce you. Colonel, thank you. And I don't know if you yourself are going to speak to this at all, but you're welcome to. And then we have, let's see, I think that's it. So, FOLAR, please. And Gary Lee Moore goes without saying. Please. You are the star. Welcome, Colonel Carlton. It's great to have you here.
Mr. Chair, I appreciate that.
And thanks for coming to see us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Want me to start?
Please.
Okay. And let's also have Mr. Joe Edmiston from the MRCA, another distinguished guest today. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
Okay, Mr. Chair, again, thank you, and I appreciate the entire committee's invitation to speak to you today on the update of the long-awaited feasibility study of the Los Angeles ecosystem restoration. Just wanted to let you know that last week I had the opportunity to accompany Representative Becerra on a short tour of some sections of the LA River that reside within his district. And he, like many others in this room, expressed much passion and support for the river. We walked in the water at the confluence of the Los Angeles River and the Arroyo Seco. We stood on the Broadway Street Bridge and looked at the cornfield site and looked down on Piggyback Yard and talked about just how much closer we are to seeing the vision of this city council and many others realized by publishing this study and seeking eventual authorization for a project that demonstrates that my organization, the Corps of Engineers, can look at things differently and much broader than we might have in the past. As you all know, the river was channelized with concrete after a period of tremendous flooding that resulted in damages that the city would not want to ever see again. Today, in partnership with the city, we're on target to publish a study that demonstrates we can maintain the current capacity of flood protection provided by the river and also provide ecosystem and habitat restoration, improved water quality, increased recreational opportunities, and potential economic development. I'm honored to serve as the commander of the Los Angeles District. Accepting this command was very easy. It allowed me to come back to California, where I met my husband and have served twice before. We currently live in San Pedro, which I know you're down there, sir, at Fort MacArthur, in a house built in 1918, so a historic gem. It's truly ironic because the Army generally doesn't send anyone to Los Angeles, let alone sending someone on multiple tours. So it must be someone's oversight, but I'm lucky to be here. I worked here in the Los Angeles District a little over 10 years ago, and I do have some familiarity with the district's missions. However, I had no idea what potential benefits and challenges existed with the river. Developing a project like this, one that represents opportunities for multi-purposes and multiple benefits in an urban setting, is more than just a challenge, but a set of complex problems. And in my short 2 months here in command, I've seen the work our joint team, the City of Los Angeles and the Army Corps, and have been impressed with their passion, commitment, and the quality of their work products. It's obvious that they are very proud of the relationships that they have forged with all the stakeholders of the river. Building these relationships and working on a project as complex as this is certainly not easy, and I'm sure there have been challenges and there will be more to come. But nothing great ever comes easy, and despite the challenges, I know that we're all united in restoring and maximizing this river's benefits for future generations. I believe the study on which many of us can and will form, I believe the study will be a foundation on which many of us can and will form and build other projects upon. For example, we have related studies at the Arroyo Seco and at the headwork sites, and it will enable others to improve and expand upon what tremendous work has been and is being done. The draft report for the Los Angeles River Ecosystem Restoration Feasibility Study, consisting of a final array of 4 alternatives, is scheduled to be available on our website this Friday by midnight. So set your alarm clocks. It's going to be there. We just completed a pre-final round of reviews, and we continue to fine-tune the product in order to ensure a coherent document is posted. Then the 45-day public comment period will start on September 20th. This is when the report will get published to the Federal Register. And my team created an email box that will make it easy on our website to enable quick and easy access for the public to submit their thoughts on the report and on the analysis of the study's alternatives. Following that, we've scheduled with the city a public meeting for October 17th at 5:30 in the evening at the Los Angeles River Center. This will be a joint meeting with the Corps and the City of Los Angeles as co-sponsors to the study. We'll be giving a short presentation on each of the alternatives, and we'll be prepared to take questions. I think we all take great pride in the work we do. We understand that we have a responsibility to the people whose lives, homes, communities, jobs, and recreation opportunities are affected by our efforts. Our missions, like flood risk reduction, environmental restoration, and operations and maintenance, allow us to focus our efforts on developing and designing solutions to improve the quality of life for people and our environment. And the study will show that the LA River can do just that. You may know already by some of the demonstrations or products that were displayed here in City Hall universities like USC and Harvard have approached both of our staffs to use the LA River in their studies to explore the potential of regional infrastructure as a mechanism for change that can positively impact the way we view and repair our urban watersheds. I think that's a sign of what is to come, and that a lot of cities will be looking at how Los Angeles transforms in response to the work to be done on the river. Again, I'm grateful to speak to you today, and on behalf of my entire organization, I look forward to continued collaboration. Thank you.
Thanks, Colonel.
Thank you so much, Colonel. And I think we all await the word at 11:59 p.m. and 59 seconds on Friday night with bated breath.
Yes, sir.
On the alternative that is chosen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Colleagues, any?
Just the one thing I just want to say to the Corps, out east of here is the Prado Dam. Prado Dam is in your area, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I believe you have some recreation involved with Prado Dam. In other parts of the country where the Corps is, you have a recreation element. And that's all new. I remember the first meetings we had in Tom Bradley's office in 1988, there was great resistance from the Corps. It's an absolutely, your predecessor, Toy, and others before him, all of them have moved in a direction that I think is positive. And as our mayor, Mr. Garcetti, I think first stated, people now are facing the river as opposed to putting their backs to it. So there's an opportunity to partnership and do things that are very important.
Yes,
and at the same time, understand there's existing infrastructure that's real important, because we saw just recently last week when the rains in the Inland Empire just poured and destroyed. And if we get that poured and destroyed, that has impact on life and property. So there's a balancing issue there, but there's an opportunity.
Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to say it's great to have you here. And the fact you live in San Pedro, one of the best neighborhoods, and all closest to the sea, and you got a fine young councilman there, too.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
No, you guys don't. No.
All right.
No.
So we have three agencies that are critical to this effort who have all played a role leading up to the announcement on Friday. And so, Mr. Edmiston, would you like to go next? And we'd love to hear your part in all this.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm looking forward to the time when you, Mr. Chairman, can put on your blog what I saw on Mr. Buscaino's blog on the weekend. I gained about 20 pounds on your blog of all the great restaurants in San Pedro. I'm looking forward to the great restaurants and great entertainment along the Los Angeles River, and that's coming next. We're going to be having a pretty interesting dialogue here. All around the country, people are saying, no, don't send the Army here, don't send the Army here. We're saying, Army, come right here. Okay? It's probably not well known that the United States Army and conservation and parks have an intimate relationship. When the very first national park was established, Yellowstone National Park, they had no way of protecting it. The resources were being literally carted off, and the United States Army, the 7th Cavalry, came in and saved Yellowstone. Okay? They had a wonderful way of doing it. They had no power to arrest, but they could eject somebody. And the Army was smart enough that if it found somebody down south, they ejected them way up north and had them walk along the wagons for 200 miles. And by God, by the time that happened, they decided, we're not coming back. Okay? So the Army has, interestingly, a very strong relationship here. And I want to make a very positive comment here. We've had various colonels here, and one of them, who will remain nameless, when there was a war going on, Iraq said, I can't wait to get out of here to get to Iraq. We have a colonel who says, I can't wait to be here and stay here and make the contribution. So this is a very positive, what do you say to, here the colonel said, they keep calling me sir, and, I don't know how to deal with that. Colonel, what do you want to be called?
Madam, sir.
Madam,
No, Kim is fine.
okay.
Colonel Kim.
But carrying that further, we have a responsibility. We can't just look to Washington. Although we're going to be making very significant asks, what are we going to do to step up to the plate here in Los Angeles? And what the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority and our co-agency, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, are doing is committed to carrying forward the recreational zone. This is a pilot project. We're going to be asking the Colonel to make that a permanent feature of the river, opportunity for people to, in a controlled environment, go down and experience the river. And until you've experienced the river, and I know, Mr. Chairman, you have, until you've experienced that yourself, you don't really have that understanding. And just as you can't really talk about the outdoors without having actually been camping there, and by the way, East Texas, one of the best campgrounds I've ever been to, was a campground of the United States Army Corps of Engineers in East Texas. So we have a synergy here that is possible. Number two, we have about a dozen sites along the river we've already developed. These are opportunities along the bikeway for people to interchange with the river, members of the community to interchange. They're already doing it now. I had a wonderful experience. I have, hundreds, maybe $1,000 worth of tackle that I use to, moderate ability. And here was right at Marsh Street. You know Marsh Street very well, Councilman. And here was this guy with his son, and they had the bucket there, and he was casting out. He says, "So what are you using? Salmon? What are you, lures?" And he says, "Well, I've tried all of that, but white bread's the best."
Right.
So Weber's, but. So we are looking forward to the real interaction of people to the river. And one of the things that you can do right now is to begin, and I know we're doing it, and I think this is a very good situation of bringing the ad hoc committee together with a regular formalized committee of the council. And we need to start making sure we have economic opportunities for the persons along the river. We have, as the mayor said, we've been looking at the river as the hind end, and now people are looking at as the front yard, and making sure that there are economic opportunities there. And I really am looking forward to working with you to have the vibrant opportunities for the private sector to now start to contribute. And so we're here to work with you, Mr. Chairman, and all the members of the committee.
Thank you so much, Joe. And this is a great opportunity for me to thank you for the great recreational experience that you were in charge of over the summer through Elysian Valley. And I look forward to many more summers of recreational opportunities for more and more people.
Did we make sure you didn't fall in the drink?
Well, I did fall in, but I held on to my kayak for dear life, and I was determined not to walk down the river, but stay in my kayak one way or another, and I did. I managed it. Thank you.
Good.
And then the vision you're talking about, we just heard the report from Claire Bowen of Planning. The Rio actually reorients new development toward the river for the first time. So we have all of these partnering agencies that were for the first time, well, not for the first time, but it's really catching momentum in terms of us speaking with one voice where the river is a valuable resource. And so it's coming together because of people like you, and I thank you for that.
Well, one of the consequences of that reorientation is what we've seen in the Santa Monica Mountains. When you have an attractive resource, when then the private sector comes to government and says, we want to do this, government then has the ability to say, you have an attractive resource, here's what you need to contribute to the betterment of that resource, and then we will go together. You get your development, we get some public enhancement, and so that's a very good synergy, Mr. Chairman.
Very much so. Thank you. Colleagues, comments, questions? Thank you.
How much land, Joe, have you acquired from the Conservancy along the river?
That's a good question. I can't tell you in terms of acreage. We do have a dozen projects that we've done along both sides of the river.
Colonel, this is a very significant individual who saw the light. Most of the projects in the last 30 years or prior were projects to stop development in the Santa Monica Mountains and get more open space. But Joe followed the river's path, crossed the river. Elmira Canyon, I think, was your first project, I don't know, east of Griffith Park, and you've gone to many places and did a very special thing. You deserve great credit.
Mr. LaBonge, that was easy to do. All I did was say yes to you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Gary, would you like to refer to Karen? Okay, please.
Definitely. You're guest before city.
Okay, very good.
Such
Chivalrous.
good manners.
My name is Karen Flores. I'm Director of Outreach at Friends of the LA River. Many of you know that FOLAR has been around since 1986, advocating for the river and the river community, stewardship, education, advocacy, the three that braid together. The main reason we've been invited to talk about the study is because FOLAR has been in a wonderful position to facilitate a private donation of $970,000 toward completion of the Arbor study. So, of course, we advocate for the most expansive choice, Alternative 20. And we're very grateful to see every piece of evidence that's being manifested for the case for Alternative 20, including the City Council resolution, which was wonderful. And the big job now is to bring our case to D.C., and we may or may not succeed. We know that the least expansive plan is still a win, and the medium plan is wonderful too. So we're optimistic, and there's a lot of wonderful new energy everywhere in these last few months. And we're getting to meet all the new folks or the folks that have switched their positions. FOLAR spends a lot of time tracking the river and getting to know the community and introducing the community to each other. People in different sections of the river don't always get to meet, and that's where we come in. We're trying to spin and weave a web of community so that when something like this comes down the pike, people are ready. And I've spent the last few months, all of us have, reaching out, trying to get people to pay attention to this very important study. And we are surprised when people call us up and start asking us very sophisticated questions. So I think we're succeeding. We're very excited. And we're very excited to meet the new colonel and to move forward. Does anyone have any other questions?
Wonderful, Karen. Before questions, I just want to say, without Lewis McAdams' vision back in the mid-'80s, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about an arbor study. So I would love it if you would take that back to him. Just, again, how much we appreciate the work of FOLAR. And would you like to tell everyone your website?
www.folar.org. And we also spend a lot of time on Facebook and Twitter and some of the other platforms because that's what people are using. And we encourage everyone to follow and share important stories to get people's attention.
Great work. Thank you. Yes.
Question on the Arbor study. What does that entail and why so much, nearly $1 million study?
Well, that's kind of why I wanted Gary to go ahead because the city is a local sponsor and they have every detail at their desk, whereas we cobble our information together through wily means. So, I mean, Gary and Carol are the city's experts on the details. But the general gist is that there was so much ecosystem devastation in the channelization process. At the time, they thought that they were engineering marvels, winning against nature. Now we know we need a balance. And so because the combination of the damage that was done that needs to be repaired to the best of the ability of this overdeveloped area, but also because of the cost of the land here. So it seems exorbitant, but in comparison to what we had and what has been done, we need every cent poured on the river, and it's going to pay back in spades.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, I think we can kick it to Gary for an elaboration on Joe's question and then some.
Sure. Good afternoon, Gary Moore, City Engineer with the Bureau of Engineering. It's great to be here today, and I just want to thank Colonel Colleton. She's only officially been here for 2 months, and I spent a lot of time with Colonel Toy, but I tell you, Colonel, we've been able to talk about every 3-4 days on the river. There's been so much happening, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate your personal involvement and your connecting us with the South Pacific and also Washington. recognition of the importance of this study to these council members and the mayor is obvious in that the resolution, as Karen mentioned, that unanimously was approved by this council. Also the letter from Mayor Garcetti to Washington advocating for a strong and robust restoration alternative. It took, Los Angeles had tremendous challenges and loss of life and property with flooding, and the Army Corps did a wonderful job in channelizing and making sure that we live every day safely. But this is a real opportunity to transform Los Angeles. As I like to say, and others have said, every great city has a great river, and Los Angeles is a great city, and we're going to have even a greater river. And I think that this study and the expansiveness, you talk about the different alternatives. Some of the alternatives, as you reach the more extensive, have opportunities to take some land and really add a component of stormwater retention, but building a larger ecosystem connection, because we have the spine running all the ways down to the harbor and then all the ways up into the mountains, to the Verdugo Mountains, to the into the Santa Monica Mountains, and the river really has a place for aquatic and the birds to really make this connection. Some of the large parcels of land at the 5 freeway and the 134 there at the confluence there, where there's some land opportunities. The piggyback yard is another opportunities where we can really transform the connection with the piggyback yard downtown, the cornfields is another place that really can transform and make these differences and really increase the amounts of opportunity for this ecosystem restoration. And I also want to thank Joe. I had the opportunity a week ago Friday to kayak the river, and Anna from his staff only had to save me 3 times from the rocks, so that was nice of her. But I'm glad to say I didn't flip. I did go down one of the backwards, but I didn't. It was a great time, and I'm anxious for everybody to have that opportunity, because it's, I grew up in urban Linwood, halfway between Los Angeles and Long Beach, and, bicycles were our only way of getting around. And I think most people that live in this urban corridor along the Los Angeles River aren't necessarily the ability to go to the beach every weekend. The river is their beach, and it's their place to experience open space. It's their place to see the birds. It's their place to see the fish. And I think that's for me, the passion of the most expansive options is to continue to give this great community that live along this. Over 500,000 people live, or 1 million people live within a half mile of the river. And I think it just really behooves us to continue to challenge all of us. And I just want to also particularly thank David Van Dorp and Dr. Josephine Axe from the Colonel's staff, who've been working on this study for so many years. And they've just... the Colonel, I think, felt the passion maybe from the city, but she feels the passion from her own staff that have been so partners with us throughout this process. And, Folar to step up with $1 million where the study would have stopped. And the city paid for half, and the federal government paid for half, but we would have stopped with that $1 million. And so it is a true partnership. LA County also has contributed a couple $100,000 to this, but more importantly, they're with us along this way too. And so it's just a tremendous opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. And I should note here, just for the full context of Alternative 20, it seems like it's the Cadillac of all the studies. Well, it is, but that's a filtered down list, right? So we thought bigger and more broadly even before in the many dozens of pitched alternatives, but they were filtered to these, several, and it just happens to be that of the ones that have been filtered down, Alternative 20 is the most grand of them. So we did think even bigger than this, but we're asking for something that we all feel is very reasonable, thus the unanimous support of the resolution, Alternative 20.
And I just say, besides being on the Colonel's website, we are going to connect it to the city's lariver.org website for the release of the study. And I think it is very important for Los Angeles to comment. I think it's very important for Los Angeles to make their voice known for for all the alternatives, whatever they choose is best. It really has been throughout the entire process, the people who have been involved from when President Obama's Great Outdoors came to Los Angeles, came to Occidental College, there was almost 1,000 people in that auditorium, and I think it's just so important that the public, and I hope if they can't be there October 17th, they do take the time to send in comments. I think it'll be very helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Just one thing, the largest public works project currently for the state that's having a few bumps is the high-speed rail. And I think I absolutely strongly support the high-speed rail. I know that some people have a conflict with the river. I think it's the future, and I think we should just be aware of that and look at it so we capitalize on this and make it work if it is to work. I really hope it would work because it will dynamically change our inner cities and bring people back as opposed to being in an isolated area with the airfields far away. So that's just something I wanted to mention because that same corridor there and all that. And if I could have an extra minute, the statute of limitations, Mitch, is 3 years for certificates. I don't know if you know that. And
I'm learning new things all the time.
3 years, they're in trouble. Well, here's a certificate, and it's dated December 3rd, 2010. And Colonel, as I said earlier, nobody like Joe Edmondson. So I wanted to present this in front of everybody.
Right on.
Special here. Joe helped us get 138 years of land adjacent to the Los Angeles River in the Hollywood Hills, and did a very good job of that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very special one. I'll show it to the committee members to see how special it is. You can see Joe's name right there.
That's great.
The beautiful mountain that he helped preserve. This is Coinga Peak in Griffith Park. So Griffith Park was expanded. Joe Edmondson, thank you.
Bravo.
Do you have an inventory of these?
Since I said it, I'm going to another tip. You get a picture with the Colonel. Welcome to Los Angeles. Good job.
So now, Tom, we're all going to take a picture with the Colonel now. We can't let you totally upstage all three of us.
Well, I got my camera. I'll email it.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Joseph.
And the very last thing is I just want to also thank, all of our city departments have been so cooperative, and Department of Water and Power was a tremendous partner and resources for the city's contribution for the study. I just make sure I don't want to forget them.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, Colonel, welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We are now going to jump ahead to item 5.
Item number 5, motion Lavange raised Weezer relative to requesting Los Angeles Department of Water and Power and directing the Bureau of Engineering, Bureau of Sanitation, along with the Army Corps of Engineers, to report on the status of check dams on the Los Angeles River, as well as any opportunities to install check dams that can improve the removal of debris and enhance the aesthetics and recreational opportunities along the river.
Thank you. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. You've probably seen the report that was written on the subject, trying to answer the questions the committee raised. Just to give you a quick oral report on the status of rubber dams, that was one of your requests. From 1970 to the early 1980s, the LA DWP utilized rubber dam at the Headworks spreading grounds to divert LA River flows adjacent to the Headworks spreading grounds into the spreading grounds. This operation ceased at the Headworks spreading grounds in the mid-1980s due to the California Department of Public Health's restrictions on the spreading of tertiary treated recycled water into the spreading ground. Since that time, the rubber dams have degraded to a point where they're no longer operational. The LADWP does own one other rubber dam. This one is located on the Tonga wash adjacent to the Tonga spreading grounds and diverts water into the Tonga spreading grounds. We did do some research into what it would take to restore the rubber dam at the Headworks spreading grounds.
Use the microphone. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sergeant. A contractor provided an estimate of $500,000 to replace the rubber dam, and that just covers the construction of the rubber dam only. It would not include installation of trash removal booms or nets, vector control recirculation systems, site access, safety equipment, signage, lighting, or other ongoing operational and maintenance expenses. You also asked about the opportunities to install check dams for debris removal and aesthetics and recreation. And most of the trash in the river is deposited during rain events. It gets flushed into the river and down the river. During those periods of times, the rubber dams in the river are typically deflated to increase channel capacity. And so new rubber dams with the idea of aesthetics and recreation would have to be designed for vector control, trash removal, public access for recreation, safety equipment, and signage, etc. The LA River along the Headworks Spreading Ground site consists of 30-foot tall vertical concrete walls that don't provide currently any recreational access to the LA River. You also asked about possible locations for rubber dams along the river. We found that La Noria Water Wheel Project, adjacent to Los Angeles State Historic Park, recently incorporated a 6-foot-high rubber dam into the scope of the project. This is a public-private partnership with Geosentech as the prime consultant working for Metabolic Studios, and it'll create the first LA water wheel in more than 100 years along the river. The second site we found is mentioned in April 9, 2004 study entitled El Pueblo Lake Initial Concept Study, and this was produced by the Department of Public Works and the Bureau of Engineering. It proposed rubber dams to be placed in the Los Angeles River adjacent to both Elysian Park and LA State Historic Park. And these dam locations could potentially provide an aesthetic enhancement, improve the river experience, and result in more local tourism than the dam site at the Headworks Spreading Grounds. And that concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Shwam Kargani, Bureau of Sanitation. I'm also here in support of our partners, Department of Water and Power, and answer any question regarding water quality.
Okay, thank you. Are we going to hear from BOE first on this? And then possibly, I understand Fernando Gomez from the Army Corps is also here, if need be, or the Colonel. No, am I wrong about that? Okay, but by and large, I'm not requesting that you come up unless you would like to. Okay, please.
Good afternoon, Councilman O'Farrell, council members. My name is Carol Armstrong. I'm with the Bureau of Engineering LA River Project Office, and I just wanted to mention that the LA River Revitalization Master Plan that was adopted by Council back in 2007 does call for potentially including rubber dams in the LA River for recreational purposes. On pages 4-2 and 4-14, there are two maps that show where those could go, including the area that David Pettyjohn was talking about near the LA State Historic Park that the La Noria Water Wheel project is going in. Fundamentally, in the master plan, we do have recommendation number 4.9 that does call for looking at the feasibility of doing that for the same purposes that we have been discussing for recreational and for ponding of water. And we have been talking with DWP staff about potentially doing that in the future to accommodate or to facilitate habitat restoration, because you could use less water in the river if you're able to pond it in some locations. However, they are exactly right in what they're saying, that it would need to be further investigated in terms of making sure that the water was properly aerated, in terms of we don't want to create a vector control issue.
Okay. Anything, Deborah? No? All right.
Well, number one, let's make it happen. Okay, figure it out. I can do the vector. Water will flow over the top. You can figure it out. Water is something that we have run 100 million gallons a day. Is that approximate?
Yes.
That are there at these check dams. And I'm not talking in the native area, more in the concrete area. Because if you see water, you get a spirit. We're fortunate in Los Angeles when it's absolutely clear, and it was clear with the great thunderheads last week. Today it's a little hazy where you could see the mountains. And when you see water, like the ocean, you feel strong as a human being. I think our psyche is improved. When you see water in the river, not just all over, it could be done. And I would think the people of Long Beach would like the city of Los Angeles a lot better, whatever trash we took out before it got there when there's a big storm. And if there was let's say at Olympic Boulevard or maybe at south of 7th Street Bridge, and all of a sudden you put it up high enough where you get it backed up where it becomes something. I also think from a tourism standpoint, Mr. O'Farrell, and you're the king of Hollywood now, the tourism standpoint. Anybody been to the Charles River in Boston? Nobody in this room? One. Okay, good. All right, very good. All right, they slow their class. Let's get it there. And you rode the duck tour at all? Anybody on the duck tour? Duck tour? We could have a duck tour here from our Pueblo Historic Monument. A duck tour is an old amphibious vehicle, probably surplus from the Corps of Engineers, and the tour operator would then leave. And you have tours in the. David Goldstein doesn't like the tours, but I hope you hear that, David. We'll get the duck tour. You can come on that. You could have tours that go from the old Pueblo Monument into the river in low flow times and experience something. Also, many people have seen the river in a different position because of film, whether it's Grease or other movies. This would change their opinion of it. So I won't want to be afraid of it, and you're with Water and Power, right? Yeah. And I kind of like Water and Power. I want to continue to like Water and Power, but I want to make sure that Water and Power sees the light, even though I don't think there's going to be a vector problem if you have it so that the water flows over. Whether it's a 3-foot-high check dam or whatever, the water will flow over. You could rake out the bad, and I think there's a way to do it. So I think we should make a march for this and pick a spot and try it out. I know up at where the Annenberg is, up there on North Spring Street, that's awfully wide, so you've got to have a different concept there. But I think I want to get a little more study and then come back with the vision that Mulholland had. He figured it out. You could figure it out. Okay.
All right. Colleagues? Oh, good. Okay, how about if we suggest a report back in 30 days at the next river
30
meeting?
or 45 days. What do you need?
I would say 45.
45.
So you'll report back in 2 months then, essentially. All right.
Good job.
Mid-October.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Dr. Armstrong and Deborah, you may not want to go too far because the next item we're going to go back to 2. We'll kind of go in order now at this point, and that is, item 2, please.
Item 2, continued from August 12, 2013. CAO to report in response to motion, O'Farrell, Lavange, relative to directing the Bureau of Sanitation, Department of Public Works, CAO, City Planning Department, and other relevant city entities to report on the status of working groups, agreements, progress, and implementation of the LA River Master Plan within the next 30 days.
Thank you, and this is the regular river report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Councilman
I'm not wearing
O'Farrell.
my pin.
Not either. I'm embarrassed. I forgot.
Detention.
For the record, for those that are listening,
It's in your heart.
the council members are not wearing the river. That's all right. We're still river family. It doesn't come down to a pin. It's in the heart.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to give a couple of highlights. Basically, when the City Council adopted the LA River Revitalization Master Plan in 2007, it established the LA River Project Office in the Bureau of Engineering, and we were tasked with coordinating the city's role in implementing the master plan. I'm sitting here today with my boss, the Chief Deputy City Engineer, Deborah Weintraub. You already heard from our boss, the City Engineer, Gary Lee Moore. I'm also here with my river brother, Michael Affelt, and our river brother from the Bureau of Sanitation, Adel Haj Khalil. So first of all, I just want to congratulate the Army Corps of Engineers. They have been a huge partner, and this is a huge milestone step for us to be going public with the LA River Ecosystem Restoration Feasibility Study. This has been a partnership the entire time, and we are incredibly excited. I hope everyone realizes that this is the nation's second largest urban region, and this study is looking at 11 miles of restoration of the river. That's 22 miles of riverfront in the nation's second largest urban agglomeration. Go Team River. I'd also like to thank and congratulate the council on their recent resolution in support of the study, and acknowledge that Assemblymember Jimmy Gomez has also introduced a state-level resolution supporting the study, and that's very exciting. Yeah. I, of course, want to thank FOLA for their ongoing leadership and support, and I also want to congratulate the MRCA and our Department of Recreation and Parks on a super successful LA River Recreational Zone program that just ended on Labor Day. I can't tell you the energy that's around here, that we just keep getting more and more good news for the river, and it's all thanks to our city family, to your leadership, and to your staff. They've been fantastic, so thank you. I want to talk a little bit about some projects. The North Atwater Crossing project, you're going to be hearing a little bit more about that later today. That is super exciting. That's the partnership with the River Revitalization Corporation, and I want to thank and congratulate them for moving that forward to this point. I also want to talk a little bit about the LA River Greenway Phase 2 project. That's going to be one of the next river projects to break ground. That's a city BOE Prop K project, and we are working closely with our partners in the Army Corps and the county to make sure that that gets through all the necessary approvals. That project is a project that has been approved by our new River Cooperation Committee with the county and with the Corps, and that one's very exciting. I also want to talk about the Taylor Yard Bike Bridge project, which will be happening in the Elysian Valley area connecting Council Districts 1 and 13. That one is in design. I also wanted to mention that we also have our Tetra Tech contract that's up for renewal, and item's going to be considered here today. I wanted to congratulate USC for coming to City Hall and thank CD13 for helping to host the exhibit in the City Hall East Gallery during August.
And you're not congratulating them for Saturday night, are you?
Now I'm depressed. I mean, Washington State didn't even win their first game.
I know.
It's the lowest amount of points since, 2001 at home.
I know.
Oh, man, that's a different committee meeting.
Very good, Mitch.
All the same fight on. I think that's it.
All right. Adele?
Good afternoon, Adele Hashkhalil from Bureau of Sanitation. A couple of things just to give you a couple of updates. One of the exciting things we're doing, as you know, at the end of last year, there was a new permit adopted for stormwater permit for the entire region. And this permit is different because it's based on watershed management, and the first step is developing an enhanced water management plan that looks at addressing water pollution or water quality in the context of river revitalization, greening communities, and doing different things, and harvesting rainwater. We're in the process of doing it with the lead on 2 watersheds, and that's moving forward in partnership with our partners in the watershed. And Shahram Karagani, who was earlier here, is the lead for sanitation. We have exciting thing happening this month, the week of September 23rd to 26th. We are hosting a national conference, One Water Leadership Summit in Los Angeles. This is a conference that's really celebrating how we manage water, and they recognize Los Angeles as a leader in managing water in its all its facets, recycled water, stormwater, rainwater harvesting, and integrating it into the economy and creating jobs. So this coming to LA the week of the 23rd to the 26th. And this is the group that basically awarded Los Angeles the U.S. Water Prize for being, in a way, leading the country. It was the inaugural water prize that we got a few years ago. So we'll invite you to participate. There's a lot of events that are happening around the city, and one of them will be at Echo Park Lake. So we're having a celebration at Echo Park Lake. 2 projects one is underway and one is being completed. Working with our partners in the Bureau of Engineering, the Ed P. Reyes River Greenway project at Humboldt and Avenue 19 is almost complete. If you go around Avenue 19, you're going to see a lot of traffic. They're finishing the work right now, and it should be done. And that's a great project because funding came from a supplemental environmental project because of old penalties that we had on the sewer cases. We're able to get that money and use it for developing this project that's getting a stormwater project into and addressing one of the largest sources of bacteria going into the LA River. It's being captured, treated, and reused at that great park, and it's creating an open space and great open space that fits into the CASP, the Cornfield Arroyo Seco community plan. The second project is also exciting is one that's on Manchester and by the 110 freeway along Figueroa. That's also in the LA River watershed, and this is a similar project. It's taken a walkway that used to be contaminated, polluted, taking runoff from the freeway off-ramp. We are building now a green project that's capturing that stormwater, treating it, creating a safe green pathway for the community that takes them to the transit station on the 110 freeway in Manchester. So you guys see a lot of the term Greenway. Greenway for us means connecting water, people, habitat, all that coming together. So those are two things that are happening, and looking forward to continuing to working with our partners in the core, Water and Power, Rec Park, Bureau of Engineering, and also with leadership in the council and the mayor's office.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adele. And if I might recommend, just for our own education, if you will, since it's a new era, at an upcoming river meeting, perhaps the next one, certainly two from now, if you could report back with a complete sort of environmental overview of the river, its watershed, treated water into the river as opposed to natural flows. Just to give us the full context, if you can condense that into like a 10-minute presentation, I think that would be very, very helpful.
Yeah. We will do that. Sure.
Terrific. Thank you. Colleagues? Good. We're good. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again in 30 days. All right. So that brings us to item...
Will we be continuing that matter?
Yeah, we'll be continuing. Thank you. And that brings us to item 4. And I know we have 6 and we have a lot of comment cards, so stay tuned on item 4.
Item number 4, CAO report relative to proposed amendment number 4 to contract number C-108645 with Tetra Tech, Inc. for professional services for the Los Angeles River Revitalization Master Plan.
Good afternoon, Lori Hancock with the CAO.
And Mike Affelt with the Bureau of Engineering.
The Board of Public Works has asked for authority to execute an extension to the contract with Tetra Tech. This would be amendment number 4. They have been providing professional services for the River Revitalization Master Plan. This would extend the term of the contract to 10 years. This current extension is a 2-year extension. It does not add any money, though. The contract would remain at $4.6 million. There is funding available in the agreement that with DWP. There's an existing agreement for 3 years, $400,000 each year, and so we have 2 remaining years, and funding for this would come from that. They are advising on the Army Corps' study, and so I think it's very important that we have that continuity of expertise involved here, and so our office is recommending that this move forward.
Okay. Mike?
Thank you, Lori. Tetra Tech has been a fantastic partner with the city from the days of the master plan into its implementation, and as lead consultant of the ecosystem restoration feasibility study, they've been a solid and steadfast partner supporting the technical aspects of that study, and we're eager to have them continue these last 2 years and close out the study.
Okay, can you give us a sense of just what elements remain in the study?
Sure. Well, as we know, since the study is basically completed now, the ongoing support work will be about going from these last finishing touches on the report through the response to comments, which will likely involve some technical input, what we call kind of plan formulation, which is sort of coherence, consistency checks as we move from this report through comment response to the final version of the report that will be presented to the leadership in Washington and Congress. So it's that kind of technical consistency and support for the public review.
All right. Colleagues?
You recommend it?
Yes.
So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, without any... Okay. Yeah, we move forward then.
Approve the...
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, it's essential. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And does that bring us to 6?
Yes, it does.
All right.
Item number 6, Board of Public Works report and mitigated negative declaration, State Clearinghouse number 2012-111091, relative to the North Atwater Crossing Project and related matters.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we'll hear from the agencies, and then we'll do public comment on 6. Thank you.
Again, Mike Affelt with the Bureau of Engineering, and I'll let my friend...
Jennifer Sampson, LA River Revitalization Corporation.
Jim Doty, Bureau of Engineering.
We are very excited to be reporting on this item again. This is the La Cretz Crossing Bridge project. also known as the North Atwater Crossing. It will be a pedestrian, equestrian, and bicycle bridge crossing the Los Angeles River about a half mile north of Los Feliz, which will connect equestrian users and pedestrians and bicyclists east to west across the river to join Griffith Park and Atwater Village. The item today is the CEQA document, which is a mitigated negative declaration for the project, and we ask that the committee moves it forward to full council so it can be adopted, which will help the various permitting processes stay in motion with good momentum. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and Jim, if you wanted to elaborate, or Jen, you wanted to talk about the project more, that would be fine.
Jen?
Yeah, if there are no technical questions, I just wanted to take it back to the why is this bridge important. So as the committee well knows, the LA River Revitalization Corporation was formed as a recommendation out of the master plan with the main charge to carry out the vision of the LA master plan. So we've been working diligently to execute that vision and our charge, and this bridge is really the kickoff of executing that charge. And since our incorporation, we have been able to raise nearly $5 million in philanthropic private donations toward this bridge, and another $1 million through public agencies and partnerships. So completing this bridge, which is actually a project in the LA River Master Plan, would be the realization of a decades-long dream for a connection from North Atwater Park to the west bank of the LA River. In closing, I just want to say we've had the great fortune of working with the city, particularly the Bureau of Engineering, in partnership to get this going and keeping it moving forward. And we look forward to continued partnership to get it across the finish line. So thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Well, just briefly, the document before you is a mitigated negative declaration. We looked at the various environmental risks of constructing the bridge and determined that there were no significant impacts. If we added some mitigation measures to protect the birds, protected tree species, avoid exacerbating the invasive species problem in the LA River. There's some traffic management we have to do along the 5 freeway as we deliver construction materials. We'll be monitoring for construction noise at night to make sure that it does not disturb the neighborhood. And we'll have to construct some very small berms along the LA River to add a little bit more to the freeboard provided by the levees along the river, because we're putting a pylon down in the river which will create a little bit of a hydraulic response from the river.
Okay.
That is all.
And I know that one of the concerns that I've heard raised is the possibility of birds, native birds for the most part, and a possible hazard due to the infrastructure of the suspension supports.
That is correct.
That might be addressed.
We have received some comments from concerned groups, including the Audubon Society, about the possibilities of birds striking the cables. This is a cable stay bridge. We've looked at that and share their concern. We don't think this rises to the level of what CEQA would call a significant impact, but we will be monitoring the situation, and if it determines there is a problem, we'll be looking for corrective measures. The bridge will be under the operation of the City of Los Angeles, so we have this opportunity to do so.
Okay, and I understand that the Platte River, is it the Platte River that runs through Denver? If I'm not mistaken? Okay, so they built a suspension bridge fairly recently, I guess, and maybe we could take a look at it to see if they've had any issues at all.
Yeah, yes, we have looked at various cable stay bridge projects around the world to see what their experience is with bird strikes, and we will be continuing to look at that.
Okay, thank you.
What's the expected timeline on the construction of the bridge, and when can we start using it?
So if we're able to get all of our permits in line this fall, we can start construction in the spring. That's the projected timeline.
Will it be lit the bridge be lit at night?
There is a lighting plan, but the lighting would also be determined, for example, in relation to the bird strike question, so that if it's determined that it's foggy or hazy conditions, the lights could be toned down or monitored.
And the access, 24-hour. I just want this to turn out to be a quality of life issues of sex, drugs, rock and roll on the bridge. Do we have it? Are we going to shut it down certain hours?
There's no intention at this point to shut the bridge down or have it gated. It would operate, as I imagine, similar to other pedestrian bridges across the river now that are open to be used at any time. But we will have an opportunity to continue looking into how we want to operate it once it's constructed.
It looks like it is multimodal, but vehicles are not allowed on the bridge.
That's correct.
And Mr. Buska, I know you bring up a great point. Security and safety is of paramount importance to the residents along the river for sure. So that is something that we're looking at long-term as well, as a permanent sort of oversight there, public safety.
Just so you know, Mr. Buska, I know Mr. O'Farrell knows, the park used to go all the way to the river. You know, there's a Riverside Drive in there. They realigned the roads. Freeway came along. They did build an underpass. One of the things that Bob Ahmanson, who was a good deed doer for our city, the philanthropist for the Ahmanson Foundation, he built the Ahmanson Police Facility, Equestrian Center, which was an investment, and he built it under Mr. Bradley's administration. He did something that had never been done before. Before, the city used to take the money, and then we'd go through the process. He built the building, and he gave Mr. Bradley the key and Mr. Farrell the key. And there's not a lock there because it's the stables, but that was the concept. They got it done. That solidified the K District. The K District is threatened all the time. K District, you know what that is, Joe? It's a zoning term for equestrian district. A lot of valley areas have the K District. Glendale has it, Burbank. Los Feliz had it too, and many of the stables were south of Los Feliz Boulevard. Fires took them out, freeway took them out, etc. So this helped stabilize it, but then because of the constant flows of water, the ability to cross has never been secured. We did have a plan with Clark Robbins in the 90s. I just found the file yesterday. I'll send it to you or whomever. I'll send it to you, so you don't need to read anything else. You've been here a long time. And just so that you have it and you can see it, this is an angel named Mort Lecretz who did real well, and he does know that he'd like to see this before he gets his calling to cross the bridge for the last time, whatever bridge that is. He told me that. So I'm very anxious to see we move ahead. I know Mr. O'Farrell is very keen on security issues all over. And I saw Mike Scholl here earlier because I'd like to see us flip a little more of that open space up where the yard is on Chevy Chase. We hopefully have this motion in here to create more open space for the riders. The one that I want to make sure is that we protect the riders' interest on the horses first, because when we did develop, and I was involved in developing the River Bikeway when I worked for John Ferraro, we made a decision we'd be on the south side of the river so we wouldn't impact the equestrians that are on the west side. And I know everything's integrated now, so we have an intermodal bridge, but dealing with those issues, I think we can to make sure, because a lot of riders like to ride down from the stables on the east side of the bridge to the Eats Cafe and back. And so there's things we got to work out, but we can. But this is a positive step. And I will mention there's for I don't know how many years, there's 60, 70-foot towers of DWP. The worry about strikes there, I mean, they've been there for a long time. Birds are smarter than we think, you know, so they know not to even get on the wires, much less get hit.
Great. Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. And just thank you so much, everyone, for your words. As someone who inherited that area from Council District 4, it's now an area that I'm responsible for. I totally get that it is of primary importance as an equestrian crossing. I get that that's the spirit and intent of this multimodal bridge. And I want my constituents to understand that is not lost on me. And that we will handle this wonderful new amenity very responsibly. And you're right, Mort Lecretz is an angel. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar gift to the city from this wonderful philanthropist we have. So we're all looking forward to making this work. Thank you. And with that, we have some public comments. And we have, and Jen, you're okay, right? Yeah. We have Lynn Brown and Dale Gibson. If you could both come up, please. Thank you. And Lynn Brown.
I'm Lynn Brown. I'm the Vice President of the Los Angeles Equine Advisory Committee, and I've been around here for about 20 years, and Atwater is landlocked. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't already know, but the bridge has been we've been waiting for a bridge over there in Atwater for over 20 years. Most people cannot cross or will not cross the river the way it is because it's extremely slippery. So it becomes more landlocked in terms of the only people who really go across are the saddle and sirloin guys and the LAPD mounted, and even they fall down sometimes. So it's a much needed bridge, and the effects of that, as far as I'm concerned, would be a tremendous revitalization and push for the city of Atwater, because it will increase land values and open new opportunities for business and equestrian interests. In Burbank, little houses that are like, two-bedroom tract houses go for $1.5 million because people can keep a horse there. And there is a K overlay in in Atwater, and that's a wonderful opportunity. I think you're going to see a tremendous upgrade in the neighborhoods as well, as people, once they can safely cross the river, and because access to Griffith Park is everything. So once that they can cross over that river and be able to ride their horses in Griffith Park, people are going to be wanting very much to buy, upgrade, and in the Atwater area, as well as bringing in other ancillary businesses which are connected with horses. So that's a tremendous thing. Access to Griffith Park is a vital linchpin to this whole thing, and that's what the bridge is about for us. In general, I just want to say we urge the river revitalization people to include horse trails. Thank you, Tom, for thinking of us. Because they're all along, I've been working with FOLAR and I've been talking to river revitalization people saying, wait a minute, you're building all these bike trails, you're building all of these walking trails, but you got nothing for horses. We need to have this all that way from Long Beach to the Verdugos. There's lots of opportunities to put in a horse trail next to the river, and that would be a tremendous thing. I know I've run out of time.
10 more seconds.
One more. Okay, thank you. Also, just in general, I would ask on this multimodal bridge that the pedestrians, originally the design was that it was going to be the horses in a fence, the pedestrians in a fence, and the bikes in a fence, so that we're all separated. I've heard recently now that it's going to be equestrians with a fence, and the bikes and the walkers are going to be stuck together, and I don't think that's a great idea. I think that's very discouraging for the hikers. I know I wouldn't want to walk on something with bikes coming up behind me. So thank you, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, and thanks for your service on the Equine Advisory Committee, your volunteer time on that.
We did get a petition, though, from the walkers. They had a choice between walking with the bikers and the people, or walking with the horses, or on top of what the horses left. And
This would be a factor, certainly.
Thank you. Mr. Gibson.
My name is Dale Gibson. I'm the president of the Equine Advisory Committee. We're very, very in support of this, as she said. And I would like to comment that we got to work with the folks, heights, cables, requirements. We did measurements for horses for safety. So they've really done their homework, and it's a project we're really excited about as a lifelong equestrian, to see the equestrians, as Lynn said, to be able to bridge the two areas. I know, Mr. LeBlanc, you've done so much stuff to bridge both of those areas. Like she said, you're going to see it's going to go great guns and go along with the revitalization project. So thank you very much.
Terrific. Thank you. You've inspired me to put on my Oklahoma cowboy hat and get on a horse and cross the new bridge with you.
Well, and please, you guys are new. We've been working with the council. Please talk to your Equine Advisory Committee reps.
Let's get on a horse, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
And anytime you want to come out, talk to Tom or me or whatever. My ranch is in Sunland, and come see what it's like.
Right on.
California is #1 in the United States for money spent on equestrians. I don't know if you guys know that. We are #2 in the nation for the amount of horses to Texas, but we spend more money in California. I have a boarding facility myself, so that's why everybody there gets to turn them out. But with the rentals and the boarding and equestrian, it is a little more expensive here. So it is a huge, huge, huge industry
great point.
here, and lots and lots of horses here, so.
According to the
Thank you.
American Horse Council, California equestrians contribute $9 billion a year to the gross national products for California. $9 billion.
If you guys want to come ride.
Right.
We will. We're going to be calling you.
All right.
Thank you so much. And next we have Marion Dodge and Miguel Luna.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Marion Dodge with Friends of Griffith Park, and we are so excited that the equestrians may finally get a bridge. And I believe they've actually been waiting for 40 years to get this equestrian bridge. And meanwhile, they're tromping through the river when it's safe to do so. But the other thing that this bridge does, and I know Tom will note this, when the freeway went through, Griffith Park got separated. The part of Griffith Park that's on the east of the river was separated from the main part of the park. This bridge will reestablish that link. So all those kids in Atwater Village, they can walk right across. They can go play in the river, and they can enjoy all of Griffith Park. So I hope we finally get this.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marion.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a pleasure it is first to congratulate all of you. And
Thank you.
It certainly is a pleasure to see Mitch as the chair of this committee. Miguel Luna, Executive Director of Urban Semillas, and here in support of the project. And I think Marianne said it well. I think it's the defragmentation of communities across the river that this bridge seeks to do and will do well. The other is the importance of encouraging these types of public and private partnerships. We need to get more people enthusiastic about this and having the city work in partnership with community organizations that are looking out for the best interest of community with community input. I really like the idea of the equestrian community merging with the other side of the river. I really see an opportunity taking a model from Compton Junior Posse, where they use equestrians and horses as a way of therapy and as a way of engaging youth and giving them alternatives to what might be out in their community. So I really see this as an opportunity. I support the project, and I encourage you to move this forward and send it to full council for approval. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thanks, Miguel. And lastly, we have Karen Flores.
I have a different topic to talk to you about. This is Karen Flores
Does
from
it need to
Friends
go
of
under
the
general
LA
comment
River.
if it's off? Because this is specific to 6. I'm sorry, Karen.
That's what's on.
Mine is a general comment.
General. So I'll tell you what,
It's general public.
so that'll be right after we vote on this measure, and I'll bring you right back up, Karen. Thank you.
Stay close.
Yeah, don't go far.
Move to approve.
Well, before you do, just one question, Ms. Dodge, you brought up a good point, Marion. Is anyone from the Parks Department here? Because when they cross the bridge, I do believe the tunnel for the equestrians, Lynn, help me here, but it's restricted to horses only. Hikers can go through? Okay, but bikes can't go through.
Because the bike path is on the top.
I got that. So I think it's something we got to deal with because it is very narrow and make it there because they may want to get into the park to ride around Crystal Springs or to get to the middle of the park. So we should look at that. Yeah, so we'll have to look at that.
All right.
We'll figure it out, Lynn.
We'll look at that at the staff level, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marion.
All right.
To approve item 6.
So moved.
So moved.
All right. Yes. To Board of Public Works. Actually, wait. Where does it go? Goes to full council. Great. We're on our way. Thank you. All right. At this time, before we adjourn, we do have a general comment. Karen, I'm so sorry. You can come back now. And then after Karen, it's Chris Oldenkamp. I put you in the wrong stack. My apologies.
Fine. Karen Flores, Friends of the LA River. I wanted to announce that there is movement toward a plastic bag ban in the city of Burbank. And the Burbank Recycle Center is going to recommend this to the Burbank City Council Tuesday, September 24th, somewhere between 6 and 7:30. There is an email address where people can send comments in support, or people can come to this hearing. but since the city and Glendale are in line, why not add Burbank? Be a nice way to bring down all those bags we have to clean out of the river every spring. Thank you.
Great point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm Chris Olenkamp, Conservation Chair, San Fernando Valley Audubon Society, and there's been some interesting conversations today about how smart birds are and how competent the Corps of Engineers is, and I want to speak on file number 13-0024, which is where the City Council on March 19th directed the Bureau of Sanitation to provide support to all interested parties in creating a next phase mitigation plan for their destruction of the 48-acre wildlife reserve that the Corps maintains in the Sepulveda Basin. The Bureau of Sanitation was supposed to come back to this committee with a plan within 4 to 5 months, and it's now been 6 months, so I thought I'd take it upon myself to give you a little update. On April 23rd was our last meeting with the Corps of Engineers. We had 5 meetings with them trying to come up with some sort of agreement to a mitigation plan. We presented them with a plan, which was the same plan that the Corps of Engineers had in place for more than 20 years, starting in 1984. And at the April 23rd meeting, that plan was rejected out of hand by Colonel Toy at suggestion of legal counsel. And we, on May 16th, then ceased all further discussion with the Corps in hopes that the new colonel coming on board soon thereafter would be more reasonable. So that was May 16th. On June 3rd, we filed a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request from the Corps for some information regarding that event. They acknowledged that they had 20 working days to respond. It's now been 68 days. They have not fully complied with that FOIA request. Another more evidence of how obstructive they are. July 11th, Colonel Colleton came on board. We have not yet had a meeting with her. And the Regional Water Quality Control Board has completed their investigation back in February or early March, and they have not filed a report either. So I'm wondering where all these reports are.
Thank you, Mr. Olenkamp. Could you repeat that file number?
13-0024.
You have my commitment to follow up on this.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Without further business, we can adjourn this meeting. Yeah.
Good afternoon.